Al, it has been quite a while since we last talked about a Trails game.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's time to talk about a new one. Not a new one, but a new to English speaking audiences officially new one.
Yes,
Technically a new release
that's the way to phrase it.
outside of Asian regions.
Yes.
Exactly. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Season Live Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Howe and Lady
Hello, hello.
It is episode number 306, and we are discussing The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero.
I always get Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure like mixed up. I never can
Yeah.
remember which is to and from.
Yeah. Understandable.
Yeah, it's a real issue.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this game has finally officially come out in English
Mm-hmm.
after 12 long years.
Wild.
And now we can play this. We'll be able to play the second part of this game, or the second part of this arc next year in
Mhm.
March. And basically all from Trails in the Sky to Trails of Cold Steel 4 will be available in English for people to play
Mm-hmm. And then Reverie is at some point.
at some point 1,000 years from now.
We'll eventually get Kuro.
Well, yeah, that's 10,000 years from now. So yeah, it's exciting times here.
Yeah. I was really, really excited to get to play this like officially. Um, and get to play it on my big TV from my couch, which is a vast improvement from how I played it the first time.
I don't think I even played it one time on the TV.
No, because like we tried to play it initially, like,
No. Like when I with the Switch version, I don't think I played it once on my TV.
oh wow, really?
Yeah,
Oh man. Oh, it was so great to have it all like
played it all in bed.
all on my big TV, which the funny thing is like this is obviously like a PSP game, so
Right.
so it's not like it's like, wow, look at these mind-blowing graphics.
Yeah.
But it's just so charming to see it up on my big TV and like I said,
Hmm.
to be on my couch and just chill playing it as opposed to having to like slouch over my PC.
Yeah.
I don't like playing on my PC that much.
It's a hassle,
It's a pain in the butt.
especially with how they had to do this. This was a hassle.
It was a hassle, yes.
Yes.
I don't know that it was as bad as me having to figure out how to like make the Windows only version of the third work on my Mac.
Yeah, that was probably a little bit more of a hassle, but
God,
this
that
was still
sucked.
somewhat of a hassle.
It was still a lot to figure out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now it's built in a way that is a no hassle at all.
Yes.
I guess depending on which version you get though,
Correct. Yeah, because
because there are differences.
there are differences, and that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
So yes, Trails from Zero, like we said, 12-year-old game. It originally came out on the PlayStation Portable in Japan on September 30th, 2010. It was later ported to Windows for China and I think this is Taiwan. Yes, Taiwanese regions in August and September of 2011. Came out to PC in Japan on June 14th, 2013. It was also released on the Vita in Japan on October 18th, 2012. The PS4 got a version of the game in Japan on April 23rd, 2020. And then also the Switch version of the game came out on February 25th, 2021 in Japan. And then finally came out over here on September 27th, 2022 on Windows, PlayStation 4, and the Nintendo Switch.
And Evo is the one that added the voice acting, right?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure it was Evo that added the voice acting because the version that I played had like
Yes.
only voice
Yes.
acting in the battles.
Evolution was the Vita version that included more visuals and more voice acting, and that was the version that got remastered for PS4 in Japan.
Nahone.
Yes. Like we said, there's some differences between these versions that you get. So like if you buy the PS4 version, that's just the straight remaster of the Vita version.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get the PC and Switch version, that has a lot of like the quality of life improvements that were done with the fan translation,
Yep.
which is a very weird
It's so
thing
weird. It's so
to
opposite
distinguish.
of
Like,
what it is
you would
normally.
imagine like the PC version, like, yeah, sure, that would make sense why you would have all these different options in there. But like the Switch version is a weird one. It's like,
Yep.
I mean, sure, I guess it's cool, but it's like not at all what you'd expect. And like it feels very bizarre that like the PS4 version just gets none of that.
Yep. Yeah,
And
it's
it's
so
essentially the worst
backwards.
version to play.
It's the worst version to play.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
have it because I got the special edition, but
yeah,
like,
you have, I guess, I think you booted that up at one point, maybe touched it a little bit, but
yep.
I did not touch that at all. I've only played the Switch version, which it runs fine on a Switch. Like, obviously it's a PSP game, so like it's not like
You would
taxing
hope
the
that it would.
hardware or anything like that, but like all of like the quality of life stuff in that game is really cool. Like
Mhm.
the zero loading between fast travel is excellent.
God, that rules.
Makes you feel like you're playing a PS5 game, and that's great.
Yep.
I really love the idea that there's an option of like, how often do you want this game to autosave for you?
That was really nice.
Which is very nice. There's a whole wealth of like other stuff in there that like you can just pick and choose from in terms of like what you want the game to do and all that sort of stuff, which is really, really cool. And yeah, it runs really well. It plays really well on the Switch. It's like nothing, no complaints here.
Nope, same.
Anything like that. So it's really good.
Yeah, I own it both on PS4 and Switch because once I found out that the Switch version was the superior version,
Which is kind of bad because they didn't really tell anyone until like a month out before release. They're like, oh yeah, by the way,
yeah,
the PS4 version is kind of just this remaster, and the Switch and PC version have all these other options on it. It's like, that would have been nice if you would have said something, before.
To be fair, like I got the special edition of them like a long time ago. Like,
Yeah, but even then, like they should have said something.
they should have said something. I agree. I agree. But now I have the super fancy PS4 edition that I will probably never do anything with, other than like the stuff that came in it. That was nice.
Yeah.
And then I played the Switch version.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm doing the same thing for the second game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Because I'm assuming it's going to be the same thing of like,
I
hey, this
assume.
is just the remaster, and then the others are going to have all these cool quality of life improvements that you can just use. So,
And there's one in
might as well get this for
particular,
Switch.
one in particular in the second game that the Geofront team put in that I want that quality of life change because
Mhm.
it is the worst if you try it without the quality of life. Like there's
Oofa-doofa.
this one quest that is a literal nightmare. I tried it without the quality of life stuff. I was like, oh, this will be fine. No, it is not fine. It is not fine. And being the weirdo JRPGist that I am, I was like, I have to complete this. I have to complete this. So yeah, anyway.
Definitely not stubborn.
No, not me. Never stubborn.
Never.
What are you talking about? But yeah, the quality of life stuff is definitely worth it.
It's very nice.
Yes.
Very enjoyable.
Go speedy.
Nyom. So yeah, like we said, this got released a bunch of times before it eventually came out over here. Wikipedia describes this. I guess one of the reasons why this never came out over here until now is it says, due to a variety of reasons, Trails from Zero and its sequel Trails to Azure were not localized by the time of the Japanese release of Trails of Cold Steel. Falcom subsequently approached Xseed Games, who had previously located Trails in the Sky, and requested that a localization of Trails of Cold Steel be prioritized instead, resulting in Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure being skipped.
Interesting.
So that would have been, when did Trails from Cold Steel originally come out? Like 20. I can look this up. Let's wait for this.
2013?
Yeah, and then didn't come out over here until like 2015.
Right.
So yeah, like it took them from then 7 more years for them to put these games out.
Woo!
Which also, coincided with, publishers being changed for these games and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
yeah. There was an English translation, like we talked about, from the Geofront team that came out in March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And that was available for like, what, a year or so before they eventually pulled it because they're like, hey, we're being pulled into this actual official release. And
Yeah.
we're going to help them with that. And they're going to pull down the fan translations because of that.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is a great idea on their part to get this team who has already done all this work,
Obviously, they care about it.
knows the ins and outs of this game already, and it's basically just an easier way to kind of just like, all right, we don't have to redo all these translations. There's a few things they do here and there because in an official release you have to change some things because of licensing and all that sort of stuff. But like for the most part, this is basically I assume the same translation and everything. So it's just a matter of getting all of that work in and putting it onto the different platforms that it's going to come out on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a way to make the work on this probably a lot easier, and also probably just a way for them to be like, we can justify this now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to think about because this version was out, like I said, about a year before they had to pull it. I think the second one was out for like a month before they pulled it.
Mm-hmm.
I still have both of them on my PC, but I haven't tried them since I don't really need to anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, good team.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm so happy for this team.
Mm-hmm.
Like for them to have like their really hard work and passion for this to be rewarded is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say that I'm happy for them.
We played the fan translation, I think, when it came out. We tried to do it a little bit together, and I think we got through like the first 2 chapters and then kind of fell off, and then you played it on your own and went and finished it, and you were like, yes, this is very good.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this game.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually they announced this official release, so I was like, I'll just wait for this to come out, and then I'll play that, and then I'll finally be able to play this.
And that's what you did.
What I did.
I just played it twice.
A very good game.
Yes, it is a very good game. You did
play it twice.
It does sort of feel like somewhat of a like prologue game.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's kind of how I feel like most of these
Cold Steel
first
1 is the
games
same
and
way.
these arcs are, yeah.
Yep. Well, in Sky, first chapter is the same way. So you're right. The first game's always kind of like that. I also thought this one was unique because the playable character cast is very small.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because like most of these games, I'm assuming it's the same with Trails in the Sky as well. It's that like your party group eventually expands and expands and expands.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in this, you get your party of 4, and that's it.
That's it. You'll have some like guest characters occasionally, but like that's your party of 4. That's it. You got them.
And they especially kind of like trick you in a way because there's a bunch of like dorm rooms in the SSS building, and there's quite a few of them that are like, oh, well, no one's in here, so you don't have to go in here.
Yeah.
So you eventually kind of think like, oh, well, we're going to get some more people in here and everything.
Like in Persona 3.
Yeah, exactly. But that really doesn't become the case. Like you get one person who moves in essentially, and that's it.
That's it.
Everyone else is just like, oh, we're here. This is it. This is all we need. Which I think is fine. Like it really helps you get to know this core group of 4 characters better than just like having more characters get sprung in and having to like spread out all of that characterization out. Which I'm assuming in the next game you will probably get more party members.
You do.
So like I think it would work better in that aspect if you like you keep it until the second game, because then you already have established this group, and then you can start kind of pushing people in to compliment them and get to know them and all that sort of stuff.
And you already know all the people you get for the second game too. Like they've already been introduced, so you already have some character development on them, which is helpful. Because you're not going into the second game and having to like completely reintroduce like new characters. It's like, no, we already know you. You're good.
Right.
But like this game is very, very good at setting up the dynamic between these 4. And letting us really learn who they are.
Yeah.
What makes them tick.
Like, even though it does kind of feel like a prologue game, like you said, like it in and of itself, it is a very good like self-contained game
Oh, it is.
where like you
Like if
can just
you
play
didn't tell
this
me
and
there was a
feel
sequel, I wouldn't think there was.
yeah, like you could play this and still feel like you've gotten a very good completed story out of it.
Which you could not do with First Chapter or Cold Steel 1.
Yeah, because they leave you on some cliffhangers.
This is the only one that hasn't left us on like a huge, huge cliffhanger. Like it feels like
Hmm.
a complete game. And I don't know if maybe that was because they didn't know if they were going to be able to do a sequel yet.
Right. I mean, there are definitely some mysteries that are kind of left hanging,
Yes,
but it's
correct.
nothing that's like, all right, tune in for the next
Yeah,
game.
not to the extent of First Chapter and Cold Steel 1. Like not to that
Yeah.
extent where it's like, oh God, oh no, things are terrible. What?
Yeah.
So I mean, this one you adopt a kid.
Hmm.
Um, you know, Kia gets two dads and two moms, and also a grand.
Please, it's three dads and two moms.
Who's the other dad?
I was gonna say the chief was a dad, but also you could maybe think like the dog is a dad.
I was gonna call him a grandpa.
That's fair.
I was gonna call Sergey the grandpa.
Gramps.
His Gramps, and then she got a built-in, divine wolf pet.
It's what every kid wants.
It's true. It's true. Two dads, two moms, a grandpa, and a divine wolf pet.
Oh,
What a
man.
family!
What a family. Uh, this game has been reviewing pretty well on the Metacritic,
Oh,
as
has
it
it?
seems. It currently has a 90 out of 100 on the PC version, an 86 out of 100 for the Switch version, and an 80 out of 100 for the PS4 version, which I'm guessing the version's lower just because it doesn't have as many, like, of the quality of life stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah. Um, it almost feels like the story of this game isn't necessarily as, like, bombastic and boisterous as a lot of the other games are.
Correct.
Like, this is very kind of, like, low key. It's very like you're trying to navigate the political minefields of the Crossbell region and like trying to understand all of the corruption that's going on and trying to unearth that.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're not like, oh, we're going to war or anything. It's not. It's like, we're just doing detective work here.
We're just doing our jobs.
We're just doing our jabs.
I mean, you do also have the tension of like they form the SSS to kind of combat the idea that the police force is useless because the bracers have a better reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Which I do appreciate in this game that like one of the things that they do is that even though that tension does exist and there are multiple times where they're like, oh man, we're not the bracers and we want to make sure that we do this before them. They still like work with them and are friendly with them. Like
Yeah, it's like a friendly rivalry instead of
yeah.
just being like, we hate you guys, we'll never work with you. Arr.
Like I really, really appreciated that because
Yeah.
it could very easily have been like obnoxious rivalry stuff and they're like, no, like we all get along.
Mm-hmm.
Estelle and they call him Joshua, but I always call him Joshua because that's just how I read it.
What do they call him in like Tox 4?
What do they
Or do you
call him
remember?
Talks for?
I feel like they would have called him Joshua.
I think they did.
So I think that's just we can just go with that.
Okay. But I don't even remember where I was going with that. Other than the fact that like they're really friendly and want to hang out and like
Mm-hmm.
at one point if you go into their apartment that they're renting, Randy's like, "So, give me the scoop here. Are you guys dating or what? What's going on here? Let me know."
Randy Orlando wants the deets.
He does. And I was just like, yeah, we're dating. Some stuff kind of went down. It was a little crazy, and then after that, we decided we were gonna start dating. And Randy's like, "I knew it. I knew it." Sorry, Cam. I didn't mean to scare you.
Now you're gonna make him mad.
I know. But this game once again solidifying the fact that Randy Orlando is a fantastic character.
He's so good.
He's so good. He's so good. I love Randy Orlando. I love all these characters actually. Like they're all very well written.
Yeah.
100%.
But
But like I'm very much attached to Randy Orlando.
Good old Randy Orlando.
Partially because I love his dumb name.
So good.
It's so good. But then I also realized at one point I was talking to a friend. I was like, I have a soft spot in my heart for this like character trope, like this archetype. Because I also really like Irving from Final Fantasy VIII, and he's kind of like the this kind of guy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, huh? Well, how about that? I learned something about myself.
It is kind of interesting to see him like at this spot, and then when you see him in like Trails of Cold Steel 3 is like he's the instructor. Like he's still kind of like this character then, but like
Yeah.
he has to be a little bit like more mature.
Yep.
But it's interesting to see kind of like the dichotomy between this version of him and that version of him.
Mm-hmm. And I think he has like an orange tie in that one to like do the callback to his like weird orange coat. Oh, man, Randy Orlando's running around with like an orange raincoat thing. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. His
That's just Randy Orlando for you.
his hot lady cover for his they're called enigmas in this game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's got his hot lady cover for that. I love Randy. I love Randy. But yeah, like I said, all four of these characters are so well written, and I'm really attached to all of them at this point.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm excited to eventually get Reverie so that we can get more of them, but
Yes.
obviously we're gonna have to get another game before that, which is gonna be the second one to this.
Which I'm very excited to play now.
Yay! Um, but yeah, you're right. Like the like underlying politics and corruption is really the key focus here.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the underlying plot of the game. Other than that, like you said, they're just kind of doing their jobs, helping people out,
Yeah. Like
investigating.
the first chapter is just them going around doing their job.
Yeah.
And just like, all right, we gotta do some detective work, and eventually we do some detective work and find out the mafia is doing dumb stuff. All right, here's a dog that's gonna save us. Yay!
Not a dog. It's a divine wolf.
He's a doggo, please.
Also I love his he is a doggo. He's a pure and lovely doggo. Um I love his animation when he's on high speed. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I don't know if I did either, but that sounds like it would be very good.
It's really good. He's just like wobbly. It's really funny. They looks crazy.
I just like the fact that you save him or like you get his help, and then he just goes to the SSS office and it's just like, I stay here now.
Yep.
And Sergey's just like, he just showed up, plopped down, and I was just like, all right, whatever.
I'm not dealing
You
with this.
deal with it.
I'm going out to smoke.
Yep. I'm gonna go read the paper.
I love that that's his decision. He's just like, nope. Not today. Not dealing with this. That's all you kids. There is a giant wolf in our office. How did it even open the door?
He's just that good.
I guess so.
I love how he's very tsundere, just like, I guess I'll help you guys.
Oh yeah, he super is.
If you want it.
If you want it, because you guys are useless, but I kind of like you anyway.
It's very good.
It's very good.
The second chapter is kind of just, it's essentially kind of the same thing where you're just going around doing your job, but this time it's like there are more ties into both mafia corporations now, so you have to like wade into that and figure out what exactly is going on, get a little bit into the supernatural elements of the game because you go to Stargazer's Tower there.
Yeah, spooky.
And then you get to see a play, or not a play, a performance, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, which also is funny on high speed, by the way.
Yes. I think we did that when we were playing through it originally together.
We did. It's really
They
good.
go, they spin very fast.
Very fast. Because it's like the comparison I was making was like Cirque du Soleil.
Yes.
It's kind of like that. And just as a side note, because it's funny, one of the things in the like ESRB rating thing is that there's boob jiggle.
Not the booba.
And the boob jiggle is because of like a second in the opening where Risha's boobs jiggle when she's dancing because she has big booba.
They're like, no, we can't. We're gonna point that out.
Yep.
I like I like the idea that NIS America had to include that in their supercut of like, here's what things need to be rated for this video game.
Yep.
Here's a second of boob jiggle.
Just a second of it. That's it. And it's funny because like when you look at the game itself, you're like, how is there possibly boob jiggle in this game? But
Right.
it's because of the animated opening.
Oops.
But yeah, Rishia has big booba. So, I'm not surprised there's a little jiggle there.
It's also kind of funny that they don't even like try and drag out the reveal that she's Yin.
No, they don't.
It's just like in that chapter, like she's like goes on the roof and like, hello, it is me.
Yep.
And there's like, all right, cool, neato.
Like it's not ever addressed again, really.
No, but like they don't even like try and like drag out like, oh, who's this gonna be? Who's this big reveal?
Who's the mystery?
Like, all right,
nope.
here you go.
Here it is. Now you know. Moving on.
Well, we'll deal with this next game.
Although we did get the big reveal of like the secretary guy being a freaking weirdo.
Yes, and that comes up again later on where he's definitely a weirdo in more ways than one.
Yep. Yep. Seems Ernest.
Mm-hmm. He ain't being earnest anymore.
He ain't being earnest anymore. He works for Mayor McDowell, which by the way, in case you didn't know, Ellie is related to Mayor McDowell.
Whoa.
What?
Whoa.
What? I do really appreciate her moment of like trying to figure out what she wants to do.
Yeah.
Even though Lloyd's big dumb energy on the roof. She's like, Lloyd, please, do you understand what you're doing? Do you...
He's like, no, I do not.
No, I do not. I'm just trying to give you a pep talk. That's it.
I'm just helping. I help. She's like, please.
And then Tio and Randy are like, so what happened on the roof, you guys?
Nothing.
But they all have like that really good moment. Like Tio has the one in the Geofront.
Mm-hmm.
Where she has her little heart to heart with Lloyd, and he also has a dumb moment there too. And then Randy gets his little heart to heart like on the blanket after the race.
Yeah, this is very good.
Like they all have really, really good bonding moments where you're like, I really like this character.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all having to grapple. Even Lloyd has to grapple with like, why am I actually doing this? Why am I here?
Yeah.
Because this is not what Lloyd wanted to do.
No.
Like he became a detective. Like he has I was gonna say detective degree, but that's not it. Like certification?
A license.
He passed the test to be a detective.
Yeah.
And apparently like was very impressive at it because like people were shocked that he did it so young or something like that.
He's just a rookie cop.
Or oh my God, he's Leon S. Kennedy.
Yeah.
Or he scored super high. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something impressive that he did. And then like, and yet you're with this team. And he's also questioning that, like, this is not what I was planning to do. Like, I was supposed to follow after Guy, not Guy Fieri. My
If only. Where's the mod for that?
We're in Flavortown now. Crossville Flavortown. Guy Banning's his older brother with a mullet. Which of course Lloyd ends up getting his own mullet eventually. Sigh.
Runs in the family.
It does. It runs in the family. But yeah, you're like trying to follow after him, and so you get like really good scenes with Lloyd of like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
This is not it. This is not what I was trying to do, and then like realizes that he can make a difference doing this, so he sticks with it. It's great.
Yeah,
really great. There was something else I was gonna bring up. That's one thing that they don't actually go into a lot in this game is the things with Guy. Like you don't get a whole lot of information on Guy at all and like what happened with him.
It's very like vaguely alluded to.
Like you know he was killed in the line of duty.
You essentially only know what Lloyd knows, essentially, like
Yeah,
in terms of like what happened, and
yeah.
like some other people kind of chime in here and there of like, oh well, I know about this part of it, but like we still don't know the broad story here of exactly what happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like people being like, I think this could have been what happened, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Especially later on when you find some other stuff out. But yeah, it's still just a bunch of like, this is what I heard. I don't know, but I don't know.
I do really appreciate that Sergey took Lloyd under his wing. Like
Mhm.
after we find out that he worked with Guy,
Yeah.
he's like, I like these Bannings kids. I'm gonna keep them around. Um, and then we also have the really good relationship with Cecile, or is that how you say her name?
I think so.
The former fiance of Guy.
Yes.
Um, like Lloyd has basically like a brother relationship with her, like understandably because they were going to be family.
Randy's
Um,
very jealous.
he's so mad. He's like little brother one percenter over here. He gets so mad a few times about being the little brother one percent because Elia, the other dancer gal, at one point is like, ah, yeah, you know, you're the little brother, and he's like, mm, the little brother
And
type.
then he gets, I think he gets mad during like the festival when he finds out he went out with her and then the Seeker sisters.
Yep, he
He's
does.
like,
Yep. Oh man. Yeah, that's all really, really funny.
it's
He
real
he
good.
just seeds a little bit.
Poor Randy.
Poor
He just
Randy.
wants all the
He
ladies.
just wants all the ladies, and he's like, man, your sister gal is a hot nurse. This is unfair. Although he does point out at one point, like, you're really kind of dumb, aren't you? Which was pretty good. That Randy's just like, wow, not a whole lot upstairs there on you, huh?
Very pretty, no brains.
No brains.
I think is that's I'm assuming that's what happens in the intermission part.
Mm. Did you not get that part?
No, because I didn't have Randy with me.
Oh, right, right, right,
I think
right.
I instead Ellie just like calls her an airhead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So everyone there is just like, oh wow, you're kind of dumb, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the same situation because like she thinks that Kia is, which we haven't even really touched on Kia, but she thinks that Kia is Lloyd's kid, and Lloyd's like,
Huh?
it is physically impossible for me to have had this kid, and you're aware of that because you know my age and you've been around me most of my life.
But
Um,
you don't get the part like I'm guessing there where she thinks it's Lloyd and Ellie's kid,
no, so we didn't get that
and she's just
part.
very wild and they're like both like, no, this is not the case.
Um, she does think they are getting married to Randy though. Which I appreciate that she's so open minded because she's like that earlier on. She's like, so which of
Yeah.
these is your girlfriend? Is it her or is it her? Or is it him? Is it him? I'll support that. It's like cool. And that's another thing that I really appreciate about Randy. And I mentioned this to you when this was happening. This has just become me ranting about how much I love Randy Orlando.
Who's
Who's
surprised?
surprised? But there's this part where like Cecile is talking about like, hey, you know, are you two together? Like, I'm okay with that. And he's like, we could be, I guess. Like, he doesn't do any of the like dumb like gay panic, like toxic masculinity, like a lot of the
Mhm.
like this type of character tends to do. He
Especially of a game from like 12 years ago.
right, right. He just rolls with it. He's like, all right, cool, I guess. Like, whatever. Like, oh, okay, cool. He's just he's here.
He's just Randy Orlando.
He wants to have fun. If it has a pretty lady interested in him, he's good. He's down. Which is interesting knowing that like he actually does have a gal that he's like particularly interested in. Um, but it's it's not really blatant here, especially because of how many women he hits on in the game.
Yeah.
But he does have a lady that he's like particularly got his eye on. She doesn't even have a character portrait in this game. So rude.
So rude.
So rude. Um anyway, I interrupted. We got to the performance.
Yeah, basically we kind of went over, I guess, what happens. Like, Ernest tries to kill
The
the mayor,
mayor.
and they're like, "No, you ain't doing that."
And they meet Dudley, who's like, bruh, what are you guys doing? This isn't your department. This is
Yeah, he's
my
the very
thing.
strict detective from the actual police department, essentially.
Yeah, he's from like the first detective
Yeah,
part.
first division.
There's division. There you go. Thank you.
But
Um,
yeah, that all happens during the performance.
yep.
And everyone's like, "Oh, interesting." Chapter 3 is the festival chapter,
Ah, that one's a long
where
one.
it's a long one, but also again, it's kind of a lot of you going around just doing
Doing
stuff.
your job.
Like, do you want to go give out tickets to people? Like, yes, that's what I want to do.
Yep.
But there are some very interesting things that happen in this chapter. Like the Ren stuff happens in this chapter, which is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And then the auction happens in this chapter at the end of the end of the chapter on the final day,
Correct.
which we get to see we meet some interesting characters there.
Also, just as a side note, because I feel like you need to know this. Um, so Kia at one point calls Dudley like a like grumpy old man or something like that.
Yes,
Do you know how old Dudley is?
he's probably like 30.
Not even. He's
He's in his.
he's 20 he's 27 in this game. He's 28 in the next game.
To be fair, he has an old looking face.
He does. That man's seen some he's grumpy. Um yeah,
Man has not aged well.
he's 27.
That's why he's just like, what the heck?
Yeah, he's like, "What?"
Excuse me. Run that by me again.
Oh man. Anyway, so yeah, we get the festival and like you said, there's a lot of important stuff. And actually, some things that happen in this chapter and then the final one are actually way more important than you would even think because they've come into play in the second game. What?
I took too many breaths there.
Yep. Yeah, a lot happens here and it's good.
I really like the Ren stuff where like they find out she is the hacker known as Kitty, which they kind of like really implied that was going to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
But then like you get to help her out and she gets to learn about like her original family and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and get to see like, hey, they're okay, everything's fine, they still care about her and everything.
She gets to save her little brother and like they both
Mhm.
end up crying on the road,
Yeah,
which is cute.
which is very good. And then you also get to see a little bit more of like the relationship between like her and Estelle and Joshua, which
Mm.
is very indirect because like they don't get to interact here or anything. But like they show up like afterwards and are like, "Oh, we're gonna catch that little youngin. Oh, I'm gonna get her.
And we're gonna make her part of our family.
You're gonna become part of our family." Which like we haven't really talked about it, but like those two are a very big part of this game, which is
Mhm.
interesting because like they are the protagonists of Trails in the Sky 1 and 2. Coming into this game, kind of being supporting characters to help bring up these new group of characters and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but still having a bit of familiarity from the previous games as well. And like I think they are used really well here. Like they don't really like steal the show or anything. Like they aren't super overpowering compared to like these new characters who are the focal point of the game and everything. But like they bring in such a different dynamic and energy compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
And it really helps alleviate this or elevate this game, I should say, in a different way than if like they weren't here.
I think that they definitely add quite a lot to the game without, like you said, overshadowing. Because you can do that really easily by adding in like characters from old games.
Yeah.
But they're used sparingly enough that you know they're there, you know that they're like important to what's going on. Like you can look at the board in the Bracer Guild and see like where they are that day
Mhm.
and go check in on them and see like what they're up to, which is fun.
Hey, what are you kids up to?
I basically always did that. I would go check the Bracer board and see where they were and go check on them and see what they're doing. Um, but I mean, they're out just doing their job and also trying to investigate what's going on with Ren. And
Yeah.
so like they're kind of doing the same thing that you are in the sense that they're doing their jobs. But they show up and have, like you said, a really good dynamic with the crew. Like Estelle wanting to beat the ever loving out of um is it Wade? Is that his name? The big guy,
Yes. That sounds right.
the big guy in downtown.
Yeah.
Like she was really ready to beat him down. Everyone's like, "What are you doing?" And Josh was just
She's just
like,
a menace.
"This is just how she is. Sorry."
Yeah.
And then like they both got so into that race. It was really funny.
It was real good.
It was real good. She was so disappointed that they didn't win though.
uh,
But you were talking about the whole thing with Kitty. This is also where we get some backstory on Tio.
yes.
Um, because you have to take her into the Geofront, which I guess that's another thing that Yona is introduced,
hmm
and he's
Which I
also
wonder if you would call if you would you do it Yona or Jonah,
I don't know, would you?
because they use the Y for J here,
You're right. You're right.
so I don't because he comes back up in Cold Steel, right?
Yeah,
I don't remember what they call him in that though, so that's
Jonah.
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 We'll just call him Jonah then.
Yeah.
Just to keep some consistency. But Jonah, we find out that he's just like chilling out in the
He
geofront.
just lives down
He
there,
just
eats
lives
pizza
down
a
there and eats
lot, and
pizza.
hacks.
And so he basically asked Tio like help me find Kitty. And so Lloyd and Tio go by themselves so that Randy and Ellie can like continue doing their actual jobs.
Yeah.
Um and Tio uses her oh shoot, what's the system called? She has a fancy
Yeah,
system.
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what it's called.
But she uses that and it takes a lot out of her. And at one point it's funny because they have like a little heart to heart, and Jonah's like, "By the way, you guys know that you're on speaker, right?
I'm still on the line, right?
Y'all know that, right? Yep. Okay. Just checking. Cool. Um, so that was good. I'm trying to figure. I'm looking to see if I can find out what that's called. I want
Ow.
I want to say it's called like Axis, but it's Aeon system.
Aeon, yes.
Um, so she uses her Aeon
She's summoning her
system, and
Aeons.
yes, and it takes a lot out of her. And she explains like, "Oh, by the way, I knew your brother.
Yes.
And he made a promise to me, because he ended up rescuing me from a really terrible situation where there was like human experimentation and I was
hmm
the only survivor. And then Lloyd finally puts a bunch of stuff together. I'm like, oh, that was that mission that my brother went out on one point where like I thought he was gonna go cheat on Cecile.
Yeah.
But he was actually just, getting Tio. Um, but she like has all these feelings about Guy because of like him rescuing her and like the promises they made. And Lloyd is like, "Oh, well, I'll just, keep that promise." She's like, "No, no.
Make your own promise.
Make your own promise."
Do it.
But that's such a good moment with the two of them.
Yeah.
And I love that like that's where you first like start hearing like what happened to her, because up until that point she's kind of a mystery because she's much younger than everybody else. She's 14, whereas Ellie and Lloyd are 18. Randy's 21. Um, so like there's a bit of a gap there.
Right.
Obviously she has her Aeon system. She has her like chest shield thing
hmm
that protects her, and she's also working for is it Epstein Foundation?
Yeah.
As like a researcher, and they're like, wow, there's a lot happening there. So this is the first time that we actually get like in-depth story of like who the heck she is.
Yeah.
Because that's crazy. Then we find out a lot more later on.
Sure do.
Yep.
Oh
There is a
boy.
scene early on at the hospital. Sorry, my hair is in the way. If you go into the nurse's station, you can talk to the old lady nurse and she recognizes Tio. It's like a hidden scene you can get.
Hidden scene.
It's really cute.
Um, so yeah, we get all of that, and then I think the last part of this chapter is kind of like where the big stuff happens. It's kind of where the story really begins to open up, because you go into this auction, which is basically this secret society auction where it's just like, here's a bunch of bad things that are getting auctioned off, like just stolen goods and like all this high value stuff that you normally would not be able to get. It's all black market stuff and all that
Super
sort of stuff.
illegal.
Yeah, and it's just a bunch of like, here's a bunch of political people, the mafia's here, very shady people are all here, and we have to go kind of sneak into it. And they get invitations from Ren for helping her out, and essentially like they've been told like, hey, don't worry about that. Don't look into it. It's gonna be hard to get in. Like, you're not gonna be able to do anything. So just forget about
The
it. And then they
police
get
all
these,
know about it, but we can't do anything about it,
yeah,
so we just
and
ignore
then
it.
and then they get the invitations from Ren. She's like, hey, I had some invitations. You want to take these? And they're like, oh, well, I guess we're gonna go here and do this. So you get to go to Michelin, the theme park and everything, and there you also meet Lecter for the first time. Him in his Hawaiian shirt,
Anyway,
his
here's Wonderwall.
sunglasses, playing Wonderwall, just being a weird dude.
He's being so weird.
What a guy.
He's such a gremlin in this game. Well, in the next game too, but he's such a gremlin compared to like how he is later.
Yeah.
And I mean, he in the Sky series, like he had a few scenes, and like he was really well known for sneaking off from being like class president and like going to sleep on the roof. So like you kind of have some idea of him being like a weirdo, but at this point he's like, I'm just gonna lean super hard into this weirdo stuff. I'm on vacation-ish.
I'm here for work, kind of, but also I'm here to relax.
Like,
I'm here for leisure as well.
I sent you that picture of him petting the cat.
Yeah, just bent over.
It's like one of my favorite pictures of this game is him just like looking like somebody has caught him doing something completely terrible. And just him petting the cat. That he's also renamed this cat.
Yep.
Because he didn't like the name that it originally had.
Super weirdo.
He's so weird. He also like threatens you on the boat, and then everyone's like, this is bad. And he's like, I'm just kidding.
JK, I'm just joshing. Hey.
You really picked somebody to do that? That's weird. Yeah, you meet him.
You do meet him, yeah. You also get to see Randy Orlando in a bolo tie, which I thought was a great touch.
Yep, if you pick him.
Yes, you have to pick him, but I mean, that's the obvious choice here.
I knew that you would appreciate the tie. I
so
knew
funny.
you would. Everybody else looks adorable in their outfits too.
Yeah.
Like Tio gets a really cute, like, flouncy dress. Ellie gets one that shows off the booba a lot.
The booba.
A lot.
Very teen.
And then depending on what's happening, Lloyd has to like come up with a backstory and wear his glasses.
Yes. No one will recognize me with these glasses.
No one. So like with Ellie, you pretend to be like dating. With Tio, you pretend that you're siblings.
And then with Randy, you're just like, this is my bud.
This is my bro.
My guy. And then you just go around and do stuff. You run into, what's her face? Maria Bell?
Yeah, Maria Bell, which I guess we forgot to mention that she exists.
And she's just like, hey, I'll get you some seats over here. You want to come hang out? It's weird that you're here. Also, it's weird that I'm here. Anyways, let's go have a little sit seat. Wazy's there.
Yep.
Being just a dude.
He's being like a host, like an escort.
Yeah.
Which is his side
and they're
hustle.
like, what?
Yep.
He's like, yeah, I just make money from this. Whatever. the ladies want me, and I will provide for the ladies. And there's like, all right, cool. And he's like, okay, I guess I'll hang out with y'all guys,
And then the funny thing
the
is
boys.
that like the whole thing blows up with the gal that he went with and like their relationship. So he just like is off the clock basically. He's like, all right, cool, I'm just here now. Like
Yeah,
they're fighting. Their marriage is
I'll
over.
just go hang out with you guys afterwards, whatever.
Um, Kilika's also there,
Yes.
which is something we haven't mentioned. Kilika is she was a character in Sky.
Hmm.
She's from Calvard. She was
What do you say? She was like a secretary of the Bracers or something.
yeah, basically like what what's his name?
Michelle.
Michelle, what he is at the Bracer Guild in Crossbell. Like
Right.
she was that.
So
And that
like I did not know her obviously because I haven't played Sky, but like she came in with like a full character portrait and I was like, okay, you are an important character.
you are somebody I should
Noted.
know. Yep, yep. But she's there. The old lady from the back alley's there.
Yeah, I thought that funny. Like you go talk to her and they're like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "You know, I like to see the weird goods that come here." And they're like, "All right, cool."
Which I mean honestly tracks because this lady runs like a curiosity shop in the back alley. So
And it's like a real estate mogul, but also like knows everything that's happening in Crossbell as well. So it's
yep.
like, yeah, it makes sense you're here.
Tracks, completely tracks. Yeah, Wazzy being there is hilarious.
Yeah.
Also, he's wearing a crop top, which is great.
Eventually, like you sneak out because you're gonna go find some stuff and like see what all goods are there. You run into Yin, who's also there beating up some mafia dudes, and you're like, "Hey, what's up?" And Yin's like, "Hey, by the way, there's a thing in here
There's
that's
a
like a
bomb.
bomb. You should go check that out. I'm gonna go. See you later."
Gonna jump out through the window.
Yeah, and then you go find this trunk, and there's this lady or like a young girl in there, and it's Kia, and you're like, what the heck is going on? You're doing human trafficking here?
This is
What is
messed up.
happening? And then you gotta go fight your way through all the mafia dudes to get out of there, and you run into the big guy,
Killing bear.
the Jaeger man, and you have
Yep.
to fight him. And then you basically like you get cornered all the way to the docks, and it's like, oh, the boat left. We have nowhere to go. We're gonna fight here. Randy taps into his secret Jaeger power, and everyone's like, uh-oh. And then the chief shows up with the dog, and they're like, get on the boat, we gotta go.
Let's go.
This is very good.
It's very good.
And then you just drive out of there, and you're like, hey, this is all what happened. We found this girl. What do we do? And they're like, we're gonna keep her, I guess.
Yep.
Also, we're just going to have a little truce with the mafia because they don't want to go to jail for human trafficking, and we don't know where this girl's from, so we're just going to have a little uneasy truce for the time being.
Also, y'all technically trespassed. So there's that too.
Technically, we had invitations.
Yeah, well, the mafia didn't see it that way.
Yeah, well, they can eat a butt.
But yeah, that was crazy.
Yes.
So now you have Kia.
Yeah, you get your little intermission chapter where you get to go run around with Kia and then go talk to people, be like, hey, do you know this girl? Do you know anything about this? Can we help her with her memories? And everyone's like, no, I don't know. Can't help you. But you also just get like to spend some time with her and get some good character interactions with everyone.
To know who she is.
Yeah, which is a little fun little thing. And
It
then you
is
get into
fun.
chapter 4, and it's about drugs.
Drugs.
Drugs have hit the streets of Crossbell.
Oh no. Not the drugs.
Also, hey, you get shot up,
Yes.
and you're like, well, that's weird. So you have to investigate these drugs, and then where the mafia went because everyone's gone. You get to go dive through their entire building, which is just very weird.
Yep.
I labyrinth.
I like that at one point the dialogue mentions like, yeah, he's a big fan of like mystery novels and like having all these weird setups. And it's like, you don't say.
Yeah. You learn about these drugs that essentially elevate a person's like skills and everything to where like they just kind of like change personality essentially, but they're also able to kind of do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm. Also, just as a side note, in the game, they pronounce it Gnosis.
Gnosis.
But
Gnosis.
but when I was reading it initially without the voice acting, my brain just called it Gnosis.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you called it.
I don't know. I didn't say it out loud until just now. So
Um,
I
this
just heard what they said and was like, okay.
the song that goes along with that is legitimately the most unsettling song I've ever heard in a video
It's
game in my
very
entire.
messed up.
It's so unsettling. Like I legitimately went to my brother, sent him this track, and said, "Tell me why this song is so upsetting to me. What is it sonically about this song that messes with me so bad?" And he broke it down. He's like, "This is exactly what they're doing in
It's got
order to make
Sonic the Hedgehog in it.
yes." And he's like, "This is what the audio is doing to make you feel like that." And I was just like, God, that is like the most unsettling song. And it kept coming up, and I'm like, nope, 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 nope. It's like the one song that like when it comes up on I have the soundtrack on my phone. When it comes up on shuffle, I'm like, nope, nope, nope.
Gotta get out of here.
It's like Sun, except for like this one's terrifying and Sun's just awful.
Sun's chaotic. This is terror.
Yeah, this one legitimately is so upsetting to me.
Yeah.
It's rare time that a song is like, oh God, oh God.
So like, the Mafia hideout is very weird because it's very puzzle based, and you're just the whole time like you said, there's kind of like, this is very weird. Why is this house or this building like this? But eventually you get up to like the Dawn's office, and there's a chest back there that has, I think, like ledgers of like the drug trafficking that they've been doing. I think there's a sample of the drugs there.
Yep.
And there's also Guy's badge, which it doesn't really get touched upon in this game. They go into it a little bit later in the final chapter, but it's just like, oh, that's weird that's here. Anyways, we gotta go talk about these drugs to the chief, and Chief's like, oh boy, we got some backstory to talk about. I got an info dump for you. Anyways, you hear about this cult? They're real bad. They did these drugs and human experiments, and they were doing a lot of bad stuff, and we snuffed them out. But it seems like we didn't snuff them out good enough because they're back, and that's real bad. And we gotta stomp this in the mud immediately.
So the cult is called D, therefore G.
Dig,
No, I mean that's how you pronounce it. D, therefore G.
dig,
Um,
D triangle G.
and it ties in the backstory of Tio and Ren,
Yes,
which is crazy.
because they were both
In lodges.
victims of this cult. You mentioned that they go into some of the Ren stuff, I think, in the Trails in the Sky games.
The third.
Yeah, and then they go into stuff of Tio in this game as well. So you get to kind of understand what this cult is and why they're very bad.
Which I mentioned to you, these are two very different types of lodges because Tio's lodge was mainly like human experimentation with children. And the one that Ren was in was sex trafficking.
Right.
So,
very different, but also very bad things.
Very bad things. And also you find out that like the reason that politician was able to be like manipulated all the time was because he was a person who frequented Paradise, the sex trafficking lodge. Which again, children.
Yep.
So they were like, "Hey, we have dirt on you. You want to do what we say?" And he's like, yeah, I definitely do.
I will do this dirt."
Yep. Anyway.
Yeah.
Drugs.
You send the drugs off to this doctor, who's this very eccentric, weird fishing doctor.
Like,
and you're like,
fish.
"Hey, figure out what's in this." And he's like, "Okay, I'll call you back noon the next day." And then he never calls you back, and you're like, "That's very weird." And this leads into like the final chapter stuff where you have to go to the hospital and you find out like, oh, everyone's been held hostage at the hospital. The mafia's here. They're amped up and more powerful. It's very bizarre. We don't know what's happening.
There's also supernatural stuff going on.
Supernatural stuff going on. They are kind of just doing their own thing. So you have to fight through all of that and kind of free everyone. And then you get up to like the top floor where the doctor's office is, and he's not there, but he has like these files out that go into like the cult stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm a member of this cult. Hey, ha hula.
Yep.
And then Ernest shows up and is like, hello, I'm back. I'm a cult member now. Yay. And then you beat his and he flies away on a dragon. And then And then Ren shows up. He's like, "Hey, good job doing that. I'll just be watching for now. You should go beat up that cult. They are very bad. Anyways, here's Potter Mater. I'm gonna fly away on him.
Not a mech. Everyone's
See
just
you
like,
later.
What is
happening?" And then essentially you have to go back to the SSS building, and you kind of learned that, oh, by the way, everything's bad in Crossbell. Like, the Mafia is kind of taken over. Also, the Guardian Force has been
drugged,
brainwashed as well, and you have to fight through all of them. You get Dudley and Sergey working with you, which is very good.
Very good. Which one thing I do appreciate is that throughout the game you hear how much Randy Orlando hates his former leader at the Guardian Force. Like, he's just constantly on this guy, which it's earned. But that guy is the one who was able to be manipulated to give the Force the drugs, and compared to the other lady, Sonia, is that her name?
I think so.
Who is obviously very capable and does not do that.
Well, also, they mentioned that dude that Randy used to work for was also one of Speaker Hartman's kind of lapdogs,
his cronies.
So that's kind of also why he would be able to be easily manipulated, because that guy's also being manipulated, so he's just gonna be hey, do this as well, blah blah blah.
Yep.
So that happens. So yeah, you eventually all of you go to the bank and try and hide out there.
The IBC.
Yeah, because the president of the bank gets his car, is like, hey, I'm gonna pick you up and get you out of here, and we're just gonna go to the bank and hide out for a while.
Yo, that scene at East Crossbell, when he picks you up, was such a good moment. It's not as good as the moment leaving Crossbell, but with him just swerving in and being like, get in.
Get in. We're going to the bank.
We're going to the bank. I've got stuff. We can
This car's bulletproof. Kind of. Not later.
Nope, not later. Nope.
But yeah, you get to hole up there at the bank, and they're like, oh, by the way, we have goods here for everything, so if you need stuff, we got it for you. It's like, all right, cool. This is where you get that bonding moment scene.
Yes, which I was gonna tell you on recording what happened more in mine, because I told you a little bit, but so I did the calculations wrong, and I didn't get all 3 people, but I got Tio. Tio Tot, and Tio has this whole sequence where she's like, hey, so for that promise that you were gonna make for me, can we go to Michelin together? And Lloyd's like, yeah, that's great. I'll make that promise. Can we bring everybody? And she's like, no, we can't bring everybody. It's gonna be me and you. She bonks him at one point.
Which you see early on that she's a big Michelin fan. When they go to the theme park, she's like, oh, I'm so excited. I mean, I'm very here to work.
And then everything that you get for her room is related to Michi.
It's real good.
But she's like, I want it to be me and you. The second time we go, everybody else can go. But I just want it to be me and you. I want that to be our new promise. And he's like, all right, cool. We'll do that. So
Yay.
She pulls which this is something that comes up pretty often. We've sort of hinted at this. Lloyd's kind of a dumb when it comes to what women are hinting.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was like, yeah, I kind of like you, which not really into the whole
sketchy.
Yep.
Sketchy.
Yep. Didn't really like that part. Because he very obviously sees her as a kid.
Yeah.
He very obviously sees her as a kid, which it's fine if she has a crush on him. Because and
it's not reciprocal.
It's not reciprocal. I would be fine with that, which he doesn't. He's very doesn't get it. Just wants to go to the theme park with her.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. But could be a little sketchy if that was not the case.
Yeah.
You got Ellie.
I got Ellie, and that was kind of the one where Lloyd actually wasn't a dumb.
Really? I remember that I got that one, but I don't remember what happened.
Yo, they almost smooch.
Wow, what?
Yeah, and they get interrupted because he hugs her from behind and everything.
Oh.
And she's like, oh, and they're about to do something, and they get interrupted, I think, by one of the offices or the elevator going off, and they're like, oh, we gotta go.
Oh no.
And then you go into the office of the president, and Maria Bell is there, and she's like, what did you do? Why are you blushing? Why are you both blushing? I don't like this. It's was very funny.
Oh my god.
So yeah, Lloyd was actually like he was putting the moves on.
Which, to be fair, I think that Ellie is like the canonical
Yeah, that makes sense.
romance interest here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that he like wasn't a complete dumb on that
No, he was.
situation.
They were going for it, and then they get interrupted.
Oh, well, too bad for
Um.
that.
So yeah, then after that, you learn that like, oh, the Guardian Force is here, and they're gonna bomb the gate, and they're like, that gate's gonna hold, right? Like, no, we gotta
Nope.
go disarm those bombs. So you go do that, and you go fight off some dudes. Fight off some people that Randy Orlando worked with. And then the doctor shows up with a via body he's controlling. He's like, hey, by the way, this is what I'm doing. Ha ha ha. I'm here. Come fight me. Blah, 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 blah. And he disappears. And then you're about to get surrounded, I think, by like a bunch of other dudes. And then Sergey and Dudley show back up. And then also the gangs, both of the gangs show up and are like, we're going to beat up these guys for you. And I was like, yeah.
Yep.
The boys are back in town.
And then Ario shows up too.
Yes. Like the whole gang's here. And
Yeah,
they're like,
everybody's
all right,
here.
we gotta go.
Except for like I don't think Estella and Joshua show up, but
Because I think they're at the ancient battlefield.
they are correct. They're trying to figure out how to get in there.
Yeah, so like that's where you eventually go, and that's where you find all the cult stuff and their secret base and everything. And it's your very typical Trails final dungeon type deal where it's got all the supernatural elements and it's very long and you got to do a lot of stuff here and there, and then you go fight a final boss.
I do appreciate that like Estelle and Joshua actually are party members potentially here. Like
Yes.
you can add them in if you want to, which was
They are your guest characters
kind
here.
of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess it should sort of be mentioned because it comes up in Randy's bonding scene that like he talks a bit about his past as a Jaeger.
Right.
You don't get as much of his past here, but like he was in Red Constellation. His dad was like the war god.
Yeah.
So they call him Son of War God. But
El Hijo del War God.
he he's just like super traumatized by it and doesn't want to be a part of that anymore. So
Wow, doesn't even mention his sister.
it's his cousin.
Same difference.
She'll be in the next game. You'll see her.
Okay.
It's fine. But yeah, like he's been like killing people since he was like 4.
Yeah.
So he's pretty sad about that whole thing.
He's had some difficult times.
Man, everybody in this game has trauma except for like, well, no, Ellie still has trauma because her parents abandoned her.
And she saw some dude she knew all her life try to murder her grandpa.
Yeah, that too.
That ain't great.
Oops. But yeah, so you get to go into the like circle of hell type thing.
Yep.
I do appreciate the one part where there's like a section where it was like, is this blood? Is this a river of blood? No,
They're like, no, we would smell it. It's cool.
yeah, no, that's.
I was instantly reminded of us playing House of Ashes because we had that exact thing. But it was actual blood this time.
There's actual blood.
Where's Ashley Tisdale?
Where is Ashley Tisdale?
But yeah, you fight your way down all the way to the end, and that's where you fight the doctor who is just gone off the rocker.
Yeah, he's
in terms of what he wants, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, Kia's our god, and we want her because he's mentioned this before in this chapter already. But he's like, Kia's our god, we want her to lead us into the promised land and take control over the church and everything because they're bad and we're good and blah 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 blah." And then you fight him, and it's a big fight. You beat him once, and then he's like, I'm going to use this power from Trails in the Sky, or Trails in the Sky 2, whichever one. Because they mentioned that, or Estelle and Josh were like, hey, this is a power that this dude had, the
Weisman.
professor had.
Yep.
Weisman had, yes.
That was the first game.
Okay, I don't know, so I was just
covering
my bases, but yeah.
You're good.
He uses that power, and he's like, oh, I've beat you now, you can't get out of this. And then Lloyd's like, no, I'm going to use my powers of emotion to break out of this, because you suck.
He just like... busts it.
Everyone's like, oh cool, we can do this as well.
He uses his power of pep talks.
Yeah, and then I think Estelle and Josh are like, wow, this guy, he can copy it, but he's way infinitely less powerful than this other guy was.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just turns into a full-blown demon.
Yep.
And then you fight him again and beat him, and then he just blows up and dies.
Um, there is also a part where Ren interferes.
Yes, that's I think right at the end, I think, or something. She basically is like, I can't watch anymore. I'm going to help you out, and uses Potter Mater to like shoot him with rockets, and then you just go into the last fight with him and just beat the tar out of him and win.
Yep.
Which is very good. Like you said, he just dies, and they're like, "Man, that sucks. We couldn't bring him in for justice or anything." And I think Estelle and Josh were like, "Look, that's just gonna happen, y'all.
Yep.
You got to deal with it. Like, you ain't gonna be able to catch everyone." And then you get the good scene with Ren, Estelle, and Joshua, where she's able to finally join their family. I love how Potter Potter's just like, he's holding her, and then he just lets her down, is like pushing her towards them.
And she's like,
She's
no!
like, no! What are you doing?
Why are you betraying me?
And Estelle and Josh are like, oh, well, I guess the dude who worked on you must have added in some new features for him.
Yay!
Potter Potter's like, you need to go to your family.
Go.
They care for you.
They are your family, and I am a robot.
Yeah.
She's very upset because she didn't feel like they would accept her or anything. They're like, no, we accept you for who you are, for everything that's happened to you. Like, that's just how it's going to be. You are our family now. And then they're like, she's like, okay, I guess I will be a part of your family now. And they all have a nice, very good moment together. It's very good. Even like for someone like me who, like I said, haven't had the experience with those characters like you have, like, it's still a really, really good and touching moment.
It is really good. And part of her concern is because they which this is kind of a strange thing for me, because Joshua is the one who saved her from paradise. But then they find out more about what happened at paradise, and that's part of why she's like, I don't think you want to be around me.
Right.
But like, he knows. He was there. He murdered a bunch of people. But I think it was mainly her having to come to terms with it than actually,
or maybe like some
what
like
they
kind of like
thought.
survivors guild or something of that nature.
That's probably a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I think that part of that is also because she had to see what happened with her original family.
Yeah.
And once she had that closure, she was able to more accept, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So she becomes Ren Bright.
Yay.
Yay.
Also, they're able to save Kia as well because she's fine.
Yeah, Kia's good.
And she runs in afterwards like, "Oh, I'm here." And everyone's like also there as well. They're like, "Oh, hello."
Hello.
They're like, "Yeah, everyone kind of stopped being weird, so we're here now. We ran here as quick as we could. Anyways, seems like you did everything. Good job."
Also, we didn't mention the I was saying that the scene on East Crossbell, the second scene in the car, is much cooler.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about that. Sergey's like, by the way, I used to be the driving instructor.
Yeah.
At the
They're all
police
like,
academy.
"Wait a minute. What do you mean you could drive?"
And he's like, I'm gonna drive you guys there because I am in charge of you.
He does some Fast and Furious and then gets shot, and he's just like, "Whatever.
And then
just a flesh wound."
He just sits outside the car and smokes.
You kids go get him.
Yeah, somehow that bulletproof car became not bulletproof in that moment and got shot in the leg.
Also, Noelle shows up there at the end.
Yes.
And like runs off the two big Guardian Force vehicles.
Yeah.
Just ramming them off the road. Yeah. And she's like, "I got this for you. Go."
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It was awesome. It's really a moment of everyone's here. It was fantastic.
Which I love those moments, so
I
I was
too.
very into it.
I do too. I love it so much.
And then basically kind of everyone shows up at the end as well to be like, "Hey, good job." And then you get like an epilogue of like, yeah, so a bunch of these guys that were tied to this got arrested, and everyone is in a state of flux because we don't know what's happening to Crossbell anymore. Mayor McDowell's retiring. The dude who runs the bank wants to become the new mayor, and we're just gonna do our job still.
Yep. And then you get like a cute scene at the end where they pose at the entrance of the SSS, and I love that picture.
Yes. It's funny because like it just uses like the models.
Yep.
The in-game models.
They don't even give you like an anime picture or anything.
No, it's just here's their models. I was like, that's real fun.
It's real fun.
But yeah, that's basically how it ends. Like, there's no cliffhanger. It's just kind of like, hey, we gotta go continue doing our jobs, and hopefully we can make this place a better place to live now.
Mm-hmm.
There is like a tease thing in the credits where it's like, hey, there's another game, so you should look out for that.
Yep.
But outside of that, it's like there's no big cliffhanger to be like, oh, find out what happens next time on Dragon Ball Z.
It's not at all a Cold Steel or first chapter
No.
of Sky, which those like leave you with big mystery.
Yeah, but I think this is still very good without that. Like we said earlier, it's a very good it's a self-contained story in a sense. Like there's still some mysteries out there we've talked about, like especially like what happened to Guy and everything. What's going to happen with all that? There's still like what's going to happen to Crossbell in the wake of all these scandals and corruption and everyone having to learn how to retrust the police force and the government and everything. Like what's going to happen with all that? But outside of that, it's still like a very good story within itself, that you could just play and be satisfied at the end of it without having to play the second one if you, for some reason, didn't want to. But
I don't know why you wouldn't want to.
yeah. But that game will be coming next March. I believe that is the case.
March 2023.
March 14th, 2023, Pi Day.
Yay!
Trails to Azure. Let's see who's all on the cover of this video game. I can't. This is a very small render.
Oh no.
All right, we got our main four. We have Noel. We have Rishia. Dude with big swords, I'm guessing is Arios.
You have Wazzy back there.
Dudley's
there.
You kids.
Hold on. Let me see if I can get a better picture of this.
He's just fist out with his jacket. It's very funny. No Kia, which I think is interesting.
That is interesting.
Because obviously she's going to be a big part of this.
She definitely is. God dang it. Box art. Give me box art. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Arios in the back.
I mean, it makes sense. He has a big sword.
Yeah, what is Dudley doing?
See.
He's just angry. Grrr.
It's very funny.
Oh man. Yeah, that's really good. Oh man, Risha's got her butt out.
Yep. Very T for teen.
Really T for no, well that was the boob jiggle.
Very T for teen for butt.
There you go. I sent you a better picture of it. Randy's got a gun instead of his halberd.
Randy's got a gun.
God.
Randy's got a gun.
But yeah, so you can kind of get an idea of what's gonna happen there somewhat-ish.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh,
there's Kia. She's on the PSP cover.
Yep. That's what I sent you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yep. She's
just on the other one she wasn't there for some reason.
She's naked.
Put some clothes on.
You're 9. I mean, you're 500, but you're 9.
So yeah, I'm excited to play that in a couple of months and see where the story goes and how stuff ties into Cold Steel and everything.
I'm so excited to play this again. And I really want to go back and play like 3 and 4 Cold Steel.
Yeah, dude, same.
After playing this, because
I also want to.
I feel like I'd get so much more out of it now. Like I loved them as it was, but like I feel like I would definitely get a lot more out of it now.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So that might be a task for us to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It might depend on like when Reverie comes out and all that fun stuff.
Well, I feel like Reverie's probably not going to come out till like late next year.
Is it 2024?
Is it 2024?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I don't know. You, which, oh man, they took the Soldier Boy chest out and I was real sad.
Soldier Boy tell him, which, yeah, that makes sense.
It does, but I was still sad. It says 2023.
So, like I said, like, yeah, probably late 2023. Probably like fall 2023. Yeah, Q3 2023. So, yeah, that makes sense.
So, we might have time after Azure comes out to get through, especially with New Game Plus.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Because I'm stupid broken in those games.
Anyways, that is Trails from Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Very good game. Very good game.
Very good game. You can definitely see the evolution from Sky to what we get in Cold Steel in terms of like the battle system too, which is fantastic because I really don't like the court system thing in Sky.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah,
it's a very good game.
it's a very good game. It's not a full price game either, which is very nice.
Yeah.
I got that game for $5.
Oh my God. I did not
Nice.
get that
Obviously,
game for
that is not how
$5.
much that game cost, but you know.
I have a cute little standee now, and I've
You
got
do.
a cloth poster in my bedroom that I really need to steam, but what can you do?
Yeah.
I don't have a steamer.
That game is that game's good. If you, I mean, obviously, if you like the other Trails games, you're gonna like this. You're gonna want to know more of the story, and this is a key part of the story. So you're definitely gonna want to play this.
Yes.
So yeah, that's gonna do it for this week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd like more from us, head on over to seasonalanimecheckup.com or sac.cool, where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Jared and Now Watch. You also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Anladium, go to anladium.com to get columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at Anime Checkup. You can buy our books, One Shining Moment, A Critical Analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, and Hot Tubs and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buy us a slice of pizza, get access to unedited versions of the podcast early, and a whole wealth of bonus content as well. Next week, it's going to be something else.
Something else.
Something else.